I'm shocked Sebastian went for Lillian, you know, like.
Right? Like that he went willingly in the cold ass rain for this, which had no impact on him whatsoever.
I love that. I love the growth.
I know, right? He went from kidnapping her to finding her a doctor.
Hey guys! Welcome back to Romancing the Monsters. I'm Em.
Hi, I'm S.
I'm Seth.
Does anyone notice when I change it up, or...?
I did.
I mean, your intonation on "Hey guys," so I thought I was supposed to respond to you, but then I was like, I remember you got mad at me before when I responded, so I didn't.
Hey Seth, how are you doing today?
I'm great, thanks.
Great. I'm glad to hear.
She's kind of blocking Santa there.
Yeah, she
I
is.
see.
Well, what do you want me to do? Santa's gonna creepily look at us.
Seth records in her basement, in case people don't know that, and she has a great looking Santa behind her, and yeah, I'm loving it. Loving the views.
And this all like really stemmed from that Christmas book you posted, Marge, on our Twitter.
Yes, Santa is going down on me, or something like that. Right?
Oh
Is
my
that the
God.
title? Something like that. Excited for that one, trying to convince Seth to read it. Not working out so far, but we'll
No.
get there. And if
Nope.
not,
We
then
will.
S and I will just be horny for Santa by ourselves, and Seth will miss out on the fun.
Yeah, you'd be decking his balls for sure.
Decking his balls. However, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Before we jump into Christmas time, we do have to talk about springtime.
Oh yes.
And I dressed up today for the occasion because it's sunny and gorgeous outside, and I could,
I noticed. Love it.
if I didn't know it was autumn, I would think it's spring. So I just feel like the weather was like, I know what book you're recording today, March. I'm going to give you some sunshine to feed your soul, because the book that we are talking about today is Scandal in Spring by Lisa Kleypas. Can you believe, guys, this is the 5th book already. We're here.
I know. Can you believe it? We're
I
almost
can't
done. We
believe
just
it.
have the Christmas book and then we're done.
Yeah. I feel like the reason why I can't believe it is because it took us so fucking long to make it through Immortals After Dark. But with this series, we kind of just powered through and read all of them in like the span of like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
That's
crazy.
true.
Technically, it's autumn for us right now, but when this is coming out, it's probably winter time, like December, early December. So, Merry Christmas, guys. Not quite, but, almost. Scandal in Spring, Matthew Swift, Daisy Bowman. Seth?
So this book starts off with Daisy and her father. They're having a discussion about, I guess, her marriage status. And he tells her simply that if she doesn't find a man to marry by the end of spring, then she'll be forced to marry his business partner, Matthew Swift. And of course she's angry about it because she does not want to marry him. She has a past with him, and just that, like, as she was growing up, he's always been like her father's shadow. He's always just like been so close to her dad, and her dad and her do not get along at all. So the Wallflowers decide to embark on a journey of finding her a husband. And we also have Sebastian, Westcliff, and Simon all joining in on this. And they find the most eligible men, and they invite them to the Spring Hind. Back at Stony Cross, we're at Westcliff's house.
The hangout place.
Yeah, it is the hangout place. Mr. Bowman also invites Mr. Swift. So Matthew is at Stony Cross, and Daisy and Lillian remember him being like this lanky guy. He's always sucked up to their dad. And then Daisy meets this guy in like by the well where she's making her wish. And he's hot. Like, hot AF.
Hot.
And this is not at all the Matthew Swift she remembers. But they kind of like start this game of Matthew wanting her, but like can't, like he just can't have her, and also Daisy not wanting him at first, but as she gets to know this new Matthew Swift, she kind of wants to marry him, but there's other like obstacles at play and things happen, and it's just that's their story. I did that really quickly and really badly, but
yeah. And Daisy at first, she's like, well, okay, promise me then that you won't marry me. And Matthew Swift is like, I can't promise that, actually.
I can't make that promise. Yeah.
I can't. So, S, what did you think of this fourth book in the quartet?
I really enjoyed it. I really liked it. Swift wasn't at all what I expected him to be.
No.
Okay.
No, I didn't think he was going to be American, or I thought she was going to get with like a British guy, but I really liked it and enjoyed it. But
Uh-oh, there's a but.
Which isn't a bad thing, but I felt like it kind of okay, so you know how there was point of views from like the other, I think it was Daisy and Westcliff, like I felt like there was a lot of different point of views.
Oh,
and
interesting.
I like the fact that we got to see a lot more of the other characters, but I feel like it kind of took away from Daisy and Matthew and their story. Like I wasn't as invested as I wanted to be.
Okay.
Because I felt like I got to see the other couples and how they progressed and what they were doing, and which I loved, which it wasn't a bad thing, but I felt it did take away from Daisy and Matthew a little bit.
Did you like their dynamic, like their relationship, or them as characters?
No, I did. No, yeah. I really,
Okay.
I love Daisy, I love Matthew, but it's just, I wanted a little bit more focus on them, if that makes sense.
Fair enough. Seth?
So this is like my second time fully rereading it. In the past, I've done like quick little skims of it and like read my favorite parts. But I enjoyed it my second time around. I thought it was good. It was different than the other three, and yeah, I enjoyed it. And I can see why you would say, S, that you think that the other couples kind of, you know, took away from the main story, but I also loved seeing their little like tidbits of their life, and I liked that. But I also, maybe, I don't know, like Daisy and Matthew weren't established yet when we started getting different POVs, so maybe that could take away from like you connecting to the story. But I liked seeing different sides of these characters. I liked seeing Sebastian and Westcliff, you know, come together to help Daisy find a husband, and like, Sebastian literally like what did Westcliff say? Something about like if he was a woman, he would be like the most picky person ever.
Yeah,
he would never
says,
be married.
wait, I have it.
Oh, okay.
If Sebastian was a woman, no man would be good enough for him.
Yes, there you go. And I just like, I loved those little scenes, and I felt like me being like someone that's read these books years and years ago, and like I'm in this world and I love these characters, those little tidbits like mean the world to me. But I could see why for some people it might not serve the story.
It was great tidbits, but I read it and I kind of wanted to stay with them longer, you know?
Yeah.
And then I went back to Daisy and Matthew, and I'm just like, okay.
I loved it. I love this book. It's just, there's just like a coziness to it, which I think it just comes from the fact that you've read all three prior books once you get to this one. I mean, if you've read the series in order, obviously. It just feels so comfortable and cozy being, you know, surrounded by these characters. And I love Matthew. I just think he's actually the perfect hero for Daisy.
Yeah.
And I actually get emotional when I finish this book because I'm like, but then it's over.
I know.
And to be honest, I feel like for me personally, those moments don't bother me at all. I love them. But it's something you'll probably have to get used to with Lisa Kleypas, because she loves to do that a lot, especially when it comes to Sebastian St. Vincent. Like, especially in her newest series, when he's there, he's got his own scenes, you know?
Yeah.
So, it's a
and
thing.
we do talk about it in Devil in Disguise,
Yeah,
but like
we do.
obviously we're not going to spoil it.
She's not allowed to listen to that.
No, but yeah, she does kind of give Sebastian the spotlight sometimes.
Yeah, and it's especially prevalent in the next book that we're going to read, which is Wallflower Christmas, but that one, it was never really meant to be anything other than a Wallflowers reunion that she added in like a side love story that's like unique to that book, if that makes sense. But so you have to expect that book to have like a lot of POVs because we're kind of revisiting all the couples and seeing like where they're at and you know what's going on. So yeah, it's a reunion book. I just loved it. I really did. And I actually, when I read this the first time, well, actually, I don't know what I rated this book the first time because I didn't have Goodreads at the time. But the second time I reread it, well, the first time I reread it, I gave it 4 stars. And this time around, I was like, no, you know what? It's a 4.5 for me.
But not the full 5.
I just love it. But, well, I mean, it's not Devil in Winter, and you know how I am with my 5 stars. I'm extremely difficult to please with a 5 stars. Like, it has to be out of this world, which I don't think that this book is, like, out of this world masterpiece, but it's, like, a very, very, very good, solid book that I love.
Okay.
And have reread twice, so I feel like that says something. So anyways, let's get into our discussion of this book. Where do you guys want to start? Do we want to start with the goose? Do we want to start
gosh, the goose!
The well? I feel like the goose is where it really started, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, Daisy finds a goose that's being harassed by a group of boys. And she's like, leave it alone, blah, blah, blah. Because, like, Daisy is essentially us. You know what I mean? Like, she loves a good tortured soul. She loves, you know, to redeem people.
She loves her fairies and her imaginary world.
And her monsters. Like, Daisy would, if anyone was to walk, or I guess, jump into that well to romance the monster within, it'd be her.
It would be.
It'd be us as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's a goose, and then, like, she saves the goose, but the goose is, like, not very happy, and it's, like, stuck, and of course, Matthew Swift stumbles upon them, and he's like, I ain't freaking helping a goose, because, like, I mean, there's Canadians on this podcast can confirm geese are hella scary.
No, I can't. I am scared of them.
No. Don't get close to them. Don't even look at them. They will look at you and they will charge.
They're not that bad, are they?
No,
they
will challenge you. At least Canadian geese, they challenge you. They're disgusting. I'm sorry, geese. I don't care. They will torment you.
I would rather face a moose than a goose.
I mean, I've never encountered a moose before, so I can't speak
Neither
on that.
have I, but I feel like I have more of a chance. They're scary.
They're very scary.
So Daisy, I don't know what she was doing or thinking at that time, but clearly she wasn't. And Matthew was like, hell nah. But then obviously he helped her anyways, and he gets pecked into the eye, more or less.
But he doesn't agree to it until Daisy is so against this goose becoming dinner. And,
right? Yeah. It would have been
so
funny actually if it had actually ended up being
Oh no,
dinner.
don't say that. Don't break Daisy's heart.
And then somehow, some way, Daisy ends up on his lap.
Of course, naturally.
And she's like, oh, it's actually fun being here. So, how did you guys feel about the beginnings of their relationship where obviously they have a history together, but they're kind of relearning what the other is like, if that makes sense? Or I guess Matthew always knew about Daisy. He just, never let it on. But for Daisy, it's like she's like rediscovering Matthew in a new light, and like little elements about him that she had never noticed before. How did you like that?
She never looked at him romantically at all. And
at all.
She never really noticed him.
Exactly. She never noticed him, but he always noticed her.
I know.
And usually in books, I feel like it's the other way around. Like, the guy doesn't notice the girl. I feel like I've read a lot of books like that where the guy is kind of clueless about the girl and then kind of has to relearn.
I like when the guy notices first. I like when the guy falls first.
Does this count as unrequited love?
I would count this as, like, pining, like, he pines for her.
Is unrequited love only when the other person is, like, in another relationship?
I don't know. I feel like it could be considered unrequited. Because he did, like, really early on in the book say that he did love her, but he can't be with her. In his head.
Yeah. Why? Why is that, Seth? I had forgotten that part of the story, to be perfectly honest.
Well, we don't find out why until, like, the climax of the story.
Well, he tells us through the narration. We know that his identity is not...
Right. His identity. He's not actually Matthew Swift from the Boston Swifts. He's not part of that family, that rich family in the States. He actually is like an orphan, but we don't really know his name until later on and why he's basically unwilling to marry Daisy. Should I say why or no?
No, I just wanted to...
Okay.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Yes,
let's
actually try and do this chronologically.
Yeah, I'm trying. Struggling, as you can see.
Yeah, and no one answered your question.
Yeah. Okay. So, what was my question? Like, how
did we feel about the relationship? How it progressed?
Yeah. I guess so. Yeah.
I mean, it was good. I feel like it was a nice progression. It wasn't rushed. I like the fact that Daisy was the one that needed to kind of like relearn who he was and who he is now. Mm-hmm. And I love the fact that he always liked her.
I know. It's so cute.
And like that scene with like the button.
Don't talk about the button.
I'm sorry, but it's such a good scene. It's such a cute scene.
I know the button scene.
Yeah. So, okay. In order to get to the button, we must talk about a couple things.
All right,
first.
I might as well not answer then.
Sorry.
Let her answer.
What about you, Seth? How did you feel?
It's fine. It's just literally you two this episode. It's totally okay.
I mean, I didn't answer either, so... Did you notice that? No. So who's talking now?
Okay, all I wanted to say was that I love how my boy Matthew Swift comes, like, prepared. This man, like, has a purse on his body. Every pocket is full of, like, random little knickknacks. So, like,
you need something, he's got it.
Exactly. I'm pretty sure he literally has it all. He probably even has, like, a toaster in his pocket. I don't know.
Probably a trench coat.
Yeah.
Anything.
No, and then I just love how convenient it was that, like, yeah, he had the knife in his pocket. That's fine. He gets hit in the eye by the geese. And, like, Daisy just automatically just, like, checks to see if he's okay, but for some reason ends up straddling him.
Somehow.
And it just... Yeah, it was so great. And then he sends her away, and then he's like, I'm going to go back to fishing, despite him saying I'm not going back fishing at all. And he's like, well, I need the cold water. She's like, oh, aren't you, like, cold or something? He's like, I need, you can never have not enough cold water because my man got a boner. And
also, he's a fisherman. Like, what? Lisa.
I know.
He loves
so
to
cute.
Fish.
And I love his little, like, comment where he's like, yeah, Westcliff kind of took it because he was, like, so excited about it. But I'm just imagining Westcliff nerding out on this fishing rod.
Right? Couldn't quite imagine it, to be perfectly honest. I feel like he wouldn't get excited about the rod itself, but more, like, the mechanism behind the rod. Like, being like, oh, wow, this is, what an invention.
Yeah. State of
must
the art.
Produce some myself. Must sell them myself.
Yeah.
I loved that tidbit about Westcliff. I feel like for me, I find this very fun. Like, it's very sweet, it's very fun, their beginning. Like, it's not so hot and heavy as some of the other books, but in a good way. Like, it's Daisy is very much like this like elf-ish woman, you know what I mean? Like, she's very like in the clouds. She's, she loves romance.
She's a dreamer.
Yeah, and he's the complete opposite of that. He's very like analytical, and he uses logic for everything, and he's very business focused and stuff. But they both bring each other down to earth where they need to be, in the sense that, like, he brings his analytical way to her, and she sort of helps him dream a little and, like, have fun and be adventurous, which I love them for that, and I love how it progresses for them. And you're just rooting, you're just rooting for them. And when things do get hot and heavy, you're like, yes, girl, do what you gotta do.
No, but I think you really hit it on the mark when you said, like, the start of their story was very, like, sweet and, like, not at all like the other books, because
it's like friends.
They had to fall in love with each other. Like,
Yeah.
Daisy had to, like, fall in love with with Matthew, because I feel like she's not someone that I feel like, I don't know. I just feel like the start of the story was so different in the sense where they actually got to know each other prior to, sleeping with one another.
They got to know each other, even though they already knew each other. But it says a lot about how you can actually have people in your life for years and think that you know them. And the truth is, you really don't.
You don't.
Unless you make the effort of getting to know them, who they truly are.
Yeah.
Just because there's someone in your life, and it can be someone in your family. Like, you don't actually know them.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And then in the context of this story, Daisy and Lillian had so many, like, preconceived notions of what Matthew is like, and obviously they were all proved wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of Lillian, in order to get to the button, which I very much want to talk about, we need to set some context here. So Lillian is pregnant in this book. First off, one thing that is very important, and I love that it's mentioned, is the fact that Lillian had a miscarriage.
Yeah.
She hasn't had an easy time, and I love how Lillian doesn't like being pregnant, and I think that that's an important thing to have in a book, because it's true. There's a lot of women who do not like the experience of being pregnant. It's a traumatizing experience for some of them. It's a painful, emotionally and physically experience for them. And there's a lot of guilt attached to that, because some women will say, I don't actually like being pregnant, which doesn't mean I don't like my child. It just means it's a difficult time, and it's difficult on your body and your self-image in your head. And there's a lot of work to do emotionally when you are pregnant. But there's a lot of guilt, and people being like, well, how dare you not be happy right now? You should just be happy that you did this, you've got this coming, whatever. And I really like that it was mentioned, because it is something that we've talked about on the podcast before, how it's weirdly absent from romance. And obviously when we said that, I had read these books. I just had forgotten that this was a thing in these books. And I don't think it's the first time that Lisa does this in this series. Like, she has little things like that just, I love stuff like this. I really do. And I think it's important.
Yeah, and like when Lillian said she lost a baby prior, and at the end of book 3, she mentioned she's pregnant, and
I'm thinking that's that baby.
It was that baby, yeah. It's just so heartbreaking.
It is. And it just goes to show that, yeah, sure, they have a happy ever after, and Westcliff and Lillian are, strong and in love, and that's not going anywhere. But it doesn't mean that a couple can't still struggle and have moments like this of where there's still things to go through. Life it doesn't just stop.
Yeah.
So she's pregnant, and Westcliff is hovering.
She's praying it's a boy.
Yeah, because she's like, I'm never going through this ever again, which is funny in retrospect when you know how many kids they have.
Yeah.
Oh God, so they have more?
Yeah. So yeah, Westcliff is hovering. He's being a papa bear. He's like doing all the feet massage and stuff like that. Because, they went through some things and they're scared. So, I mean, the button is like way later in the book. We can't go into the button now. Can we?
I mean, we already started it, and it's us. Yeah, let's go into it.
Fine. We might go back to the beginning eventually. I'm sorry. There's stuff that happens first, but whatever. And, eventually, the baby is, ready to come. It's like, I'm cooked, and I'm ready to come out of the oven. And
Westcliff is, beautifully, he's stressing and mad that no one told him as soon as it started happening.
Right.
And he is protective AF.
And there's a storm going on outside. It's horrible. And they send for the doctor, but the doctor freaking gets injured on the way there. And he's like, never mind, actually. And then the nurse is drunk as fuck and oblivious. And then so they send Matthew, Simon, and Sebastian to...
I'm shocked Sebastian went for Lily,
right?
You know?
Like that he went willingly in the cold-ass rain for this, which had no impact on him whatsoever.
I love that. I love the growth.
Right?
I know, right? He went from kidnapping her to finding her a doctor.
So each of them go to neighboring town to look for a doctor, and unfortunately nobody does, but Matthew, knight in shining armor, comes back with someone who is
an animal doctor.
An animal doctor.
A vet.
Better than nothing.
True.
He gave birth to a cow the previous day, so surely he must know how to give birth to a human baby. I love how they name this baby after the animal doctor. Merritt.
Poor Merritt, man. I forgot that was her beginning.
Right? I forgot about that too. Yeah. Anyway, long story short, while it's happening, Daisy leaves the room because it's there's a lot of people there and she feels like she's a bit too much, and so she's in the hallway and waiting, and Matthew finds her, and she's feeling really thankful that he did this and that he found someone and blah blah blah, and then to try to distract her, that's when we learn about everything that's in his pockets, he's showing her all these things, and she finds a button with a piece of hair. And whose hair is it? And
Daisy.
Where did the button come from originally?
That was so weird, but so cute. So the button came from a coat that was Daisy's father, which was gifted to him by Daisy's mother. And each button has a piece of hair of each child.
Yeah.
Sewn into the coat, I guess. It's weird, but it's cute in a weird way. And the reason why Matthew has it, I guess something was spilled on the coat. Mm-hmm. And Daisy's dad gave it to Matthew to throw away.
Well, he discarded the coat,
the coat. But before discarding the coat, he ended up keeping the little button that has Daisy's hair.
Because he knew which one was Daisy's. And he kept it all along. And then obviously Daisy's like, wait a minute, I recognize this. And Matthew is panicking. He's trying to reach for it.
No, you don't.
You didn't see anything. And that's what plants the seed in Daisy's mind that perhaps he's been pining all along. Why else would he keep a button with my hair on him all this time?
And I think it just speaks for how long Matthew was longing for Daisy, and it's just it breaks my heart because she didn't once look at him or smile at him, and but he just loved her so fiercely.
Much. He knows all the little details about her, her birthday. She's how would you know that? Or all the little things, and I'm oh my God, Matthew. I just love a man who loves so much that he knows all these things, and the girl's what the hell? How do you know that? It's just because he was looking at you, girl. He was looking. He was seeing, he wasn't just I don't know, it's just, there's something about it that just makes my heart go boom. I love it. I love it.
I loved it too.
But anyway, backtracking to the beginning, because I want to talk about, before things get sweet and cute between them, there's one scene that I want to talk about, which is let me try to find it in my notes, because it's the wait, no, what's it called? Lawn bowling. I was looking for the name of it.
Yes. So I love that scene.
Yes. So there's a scene in this book where they play a game of lawn bowling, and it gets real intense. Matthew and Daisy are hella competitive. They are both paired with other people. So he's paired with some girl, like Cassandra or whatever her name was.
Mm-hmm.
And she's paired with the other man that, she's thinking of, romancing. Landry? Something like that. Anyways, how did you guys like that scene? I loved it.
I loved the shit out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a fun scene.
That's all you have to say about that scene? Really?
It was a fun scene.
No, I just loved how it started because, like you said, they were paired with other people, but like they never really noticed anyone else. It was always just those two, and like
them.
They ended up getting really competitive when Matthew knocked her ball out of the area, and then it just started becoming a game where like they kept knocking each other's like balls out. And poor Westcliff ended up having to be like the referee, and he's like, guys, I'm gone. It's like almost dinner time. I need to go rest.
Yeah, because it lasts for hours, and then like it just mentions how like most people have actually left at that point, and it's literally just Daisy.
Yes, and Lillian went to take a nap and came back.
Yeah, it's just Daisy and Matthew still going at it.
Yeah.
And it would have kept going, honestly. But then Westcliff is like, we literally stopped counting the points like half an hour ago. Are you guys kidding me right now? And Daisy's like, no, we didn't.
It kind of like gave me Bridgerton vibes with the Pall Mall scene.
Well, funny you mentioned that, because I have a question for you now.
Yes.
Now that we've had Pall Mall, rounders and knickers, and lawn bowling, which one would you want? Which one is your favorite? So, ferocious game of Pall Mall, scandalous game of rounders and knickers, or infamous game of lawn bowling?
That's a good question.
Which one we playing, girls?
Rounders and knickers?
If the knickers are what they wear in this time, yes, I'd be so down for it. Because, those pantaloons are pretty fly.
Okay, let's say it's not us playing. Which one in retrospect do you prefer as a game in a historical romance context?
Which one was the first one? The
Pall Mall.
Pall Mall?
Anthony and Kate. The one they have like a stick and a ball, and like they have to go to...
I think that one, I feel like that one's more, it felt more competitive. I don't know if it's just the fact that how serious the siblings
the whole family
took it. was.
Oh my gosh, that family.
So I think insane. I would love to sit down and watch a game of like them playing. I think I would enjoy that a lot.
I personally think if we're playing a game of rounders and or knickers, I would like it to be, and I'm watching, I would like it to be the men playing it, and I'd be so, ready for it.
But having them undress?
Yeah, I mean, like, it's knickers.
Oh, how
it's rounders and your knickers, right?
I heard I would prefer, like, you being a man playing it. I was like, wait, why? I was so confused for a minute there.
That one would be fun, but I think I more so would really care to watch what lawn bowling would look like back in the day, because I feel like, obviously, I've played bowling not on the lawn, and I didn't really know it was a thing until I really, read this book again, and then I was like, damn, this was a thing. So I think I'd want to maybe watch that, especially if Matthew and Daisy are playing. It would be a fun game to watch.
Well, the most iconic has to be Pall Mall, just because, you say Pall Mall and everyone knows what book you're referring to.
Yes.
The Viscount Who Loved Me, in case you don't. But I quite like lawn bowling, I have to say. It sounds fun. Yeah, I feel like I could have a pretty good aim. I feel like I'd get pretty competitive and aggressive in my techniques. Anyways, so after this scene, which I absolutely adored, there's another scene which I just find extremely important to mention. So the girls, the Wallflowers, are in a parlor with a bunch of other people, and Annabelle has her baby there, and baby Isabel is, being a little fussy. She's teething. Yeah. She's having a little bit of a hard time. And another thing that Lisa Kleypas mentions, which I love that she throws that in there, is Annabelle's guilt. You know, right away she's like embarrassed. She's like, she feels bad because she's looking at all these people that are looking at her like, why the fuck is your baby crying? Why the fuck is your baby here? It shouldn't be here, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, and her like doubting her decisions as a mother and like feeling embarrassed and being like, maybe I should just leave. And obviously Lillian being like, shut up, that's my house and I want you here and I want this baby here and they can all go and fuck themselves. But Matthew comes into the room and he sees this baby and he's like, he takes the baby and he, you know, again, the pockets, man. This is why pockets are so important. This man has all things in his pockets. And he somehow freaking finds everything necessary to create like a teething toy for this baby with like ice and stuff, and he gives the ice to the baby and to, you know, gnaw on, and then he's like rocking the baby and like talking to the baby and like telling her about really boring shit, and the baby falls asleep.
That was so cute.
I was dying. Is there anything sexier in life than a man with a baby?
And knows how to like calm the baby down.
Knows how to take care of is not scared of the baby. Fuck. My ovaries were twitching.
And the funny thing is, all like Evie, Annabelle, Lillian, and even Daisy were all like, oh my gosh, she's gonna come over and tell us to like take the baby away.
Right, and I love how the beginning of the scene starts with Lillian being like, oh, he's the worst, he's this, he's that, blah, blah, blah. And then Matthew leaves, and Annabelle and Eve are like, oh, yes, definitely the worst. I busted out laughing. I thought it was so funny.
No, it was a great scene, and I feel like it shows a side of Matthew that, like, at that time was needed to be seen because everyone was forming their own opinions of him, and without even getting to know him. And I just felt like it was such a good scene, and like it was important to show like the innocence of the baby with such a strong, you know, domineering man. Right. And it was a great scene.
He's so caring.
Yeah,
so caring. He will make a great father. I don't think we get to see him as a father, actually. Do we?
I mean, not yet.
No, at all.
Not yet is the right word, because you know what? Lisa Kleypas is freaking gonna write the Wallflowers second generations.
You know what I was thinking? As close your ears. Actually, you don't need to. I was thinking Isabel and Foxhall might be a thing. Right?
Because they say, they're like, we're gonna matchmake these two kids and we're gonna create a union, and then someone else says like, oh no, we're not gonna do that. But then I was like, the seed has been planted, Lisa Kleypas.
And you know, we're probably gonna get older woman, younger man, and I'm not opposed to it.
Yeah. Ooh, Isabel and Foxhall, I am so here for it.
I'm so ready. Foxhall's so here for foxy.
It. He's been weirdly absent, so.
I know.
Does she even know who Foxhall is?
Foxhall is Westcliff and Lillian's another one of their children.
Their first son, so like the heir.
Okay.
Anywho, I just love that little mention, and I'm glad you brought it up.
Because I picked it up and I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah,
here comes our wish.
I did too. Hopefully in a couple years we'll be able to revisit this and be like, we were right. Hopefully. Anyways, so moving on from that to other games. The Parlor, the actual Parlor game of mooing.
That
was awful. And like Matthew's like little moo.
He was so over it too.
I know.
When she's like, is it Cassandra? I think that's her name. Cassandra is like, where's Mr. Cow? And especially in the audiobook, Matthew is like, moo. It was so funny.
He was so over it. He's like, why did I agree to come here?
It was so bad. Anyways, and then like all this ends up in Daisy losing the Parlor game.
Yes.
And being told that as a result, she has to be kissed by someone or some shit because, I don't know, like, there was something about that. And obviously, Matthew is like, fine, I'll do it because, like, he don't want nobody kissing his girl.
No, actually, Daisy pulls out a name of the hat, out of the hat, and it
Oh,
says,
that's
like,
right. Yeah, you're right.
she says it's Matthew Swift, but then the girl beside him that, he's playing the game with, Cassandra, she's like, I didn't put your name in there. It's not, it shouldn't be you.
Yeah.
But, so he ends up being the gentleman, and...
Yeah, so Daisy picked him, and instead of kissing her like he was supposed to, he kisses her hand, and she's like, that is actually embarrassing.
Yeah.
To me. And he takes her away, and then like they're left alone in some room, and Daisy's all like, that was bad, blah, blah, blah.
Like, no one's gonna want me anymore.
Yeah, and obviously Matthew's like, all right, I got things to prove then. So he does, and we get our first kiss. For real, for real.
I bet he was like all freaking... his insides, his butterflies going crazy.
You?
He finally... No!
Oh.
Matthew!
Oh.
In that moment.
Yeah.
That kiss was great.
I feel like we've said this book was sweet, which is, it was, but it was also hot. Like, it had its hot moment.
It had its moments.
Yeah.
And to imagine their first kiss happened in the library. I mean, what perfect, what setting is more perfect for Daisy than a library?
That's
right?
true.
Exactly.
This girl that loves her books.
Exactly. I also left that following this, more or less, I love how Daisy right away, she tells her sister, like, actually, I think I'm attracted to Matthew.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I love how that wasn't hidden or like a secret between them. Like, she right away, she was like, I have these feelings for this man.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that, like, days ago, I was like, ew, Matthew
Hate
Swift.
the man.
But now I'm like, maybe not. And how do you guys feel about how Lillian takes care of that whole situation? Like, how she feels about it, her reaction, what she says, what she does, her possessiveness over her sister.
Yeah, because like we said, Lillian does not like the idea of Daisy marrying Matthew, and that's putting it lightly.
So when I read that moment, I was very annoyed with Lily and just how kind of, like, I saw two versions of it. Like, my first reaction was being annoyed, basically how she just didn't want to let her sister make like her own mistakes. But then I went back and I thought about it, and it just brought me to my sisters and how they are, and shout out to them. They're very
shout out to us as sisters.
They're very protective, and it just brought me back to like when I was dating and how protective my older sister was. And then it brought me back to a moment where Veronica, like, okay, so in high school when I would date, Veronica never bothered to like talk to any of my boyfriends. Like, if they weren't worthy, she wouldn't acknowledge them.
Damn, that's cold, Veronica.
Veronica was like, when she was younger, she was very like I don't care about any of your boyfriends, but there were a couple where she's like, okay, like she made an effort like to talk to them and get to know them. And like, okay, like, so when that would happen, it's like, okay, she likes this guy. Another moment was when my older sister was pregnant with my first nephew. They were living with us at the time. And after she had, like, during that pregnancy, like, they got really close, like, really, really close. So, after the baby was born, like, within a couple months, her and her husband ended up moving away. So Veronica was very emotional. So she wrote a letter to her husband and kind of like saying, you better take care of them. She kind of gave him a piece of her mind.
Veronica!
Veronica's the sister.
I know. She's got your back.
Yeah.
He didn't understand. He didn't know how to read English at the time. So she had my older sister translate the letter. Wow. And then he was just like, oh shit, like, she's serious, So they got kind of close after that as well. They got really close. So it annoyed me at first, but then I'm like, that's what sisters do, you know? Like, they're very protective. They get scared. So I understood and I kind of love that aspect of it. Like, it's expected from Lillian and their relationship.
Also, it reminds us of the fact that we know Lillian, prior to this book, we knew Lillian as a friend through Evie and Annabelle. We knew Lillian as a heroine through her own book, but we hadn't really gotten to know Lillian as a sister.
Exactly.
And I think those are three very different perspectives.
Yeah.
And they make up who Lillian is, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And this was like a new perspective of what's it like to be Lillian's sister, and how is she as the older sister to Daisy, and how does Daisy view her older sister and their relationship. So while I was annoyed too, sometimes I was like, Lillian, for fuck's sake, like, leave the girl be. Like, look at what you did. You know, you can't fucking speak, okay? But it's important to have, you know, stuff like that, because it fleshes out a character. You know, she's multifaceted in that way.
Yeah, and I also feel like there's more to that as well, and I think obviously, like Lillian mentions it, it's not just that she's unwilling to get to know the new Matthew. She's unwilling to acknowledge the idea of them, because she doesn't want Daisy to move away. And for her, because her only friend had only ever been Daisy for like the whole time they were raised, and like just the idea of Daisy moving away to America, was a lot to, like, you know, take in and handle. So she had a lot going on. But I got annoyed with Lillian as well. Some parts.
And obviously Evie, voice of reason, love her to bits.
Yes.
She says something that I thought was really, it's a good line. She says, it's Daisy's right to make a mistake.
Yep.
And I think that that's so important, especially between siblings, especially when a sibling is so protective like that. It's like, but you have to let the people you love go out there and make the mistakes that they have to make, or else they're never going to grow. You know, they're never going to flourish into who they were always meant to be. And they might get hurt, and that's okay. They'll come back from it, and you'll be there to help them out of it, you know? Yeah. So I just freaking love Evie, because obviously also it was like a callback to her own story, and you know, what she decided to do with St. Vincent, which was, I'm gonna take this risk, and if it's a mistake, then it's a mistake. It wasn't a mistake though, obviously.
Yes.
Anyways, also shout out to Matthew for wearing glasses. Hot men in glasses.
I love the hero that wears glasses.
And then I love how Daisy's like, oh, he's so sexy with those glasses.
Right. She was all of us. But is he the only Lisa Kleypas hero with glasses?
Is he?
I think he is.
Yeah, at this point, I think, yeah.
See, every week there's something we're like writing a strongly worded letter to Lisa Kleypas about this, and I think I might write a strongly worded letter to Lisa Kleypas about the fact that she's lacking in heroes wearing glasses.
Yeah, I'm not coming up with any right now.
Yeah, me either. Not the Hathaways, not the Ravenels. Lisa, what you doing?
No, I just wanted to talk about Daisy's seduction of Matthew.
Oh, that's where I was going. Okay.
Oh, perfect. So yeah, basically, how does the scene start again? I'm drawing a blank. How does she decide to go to the bachelor house?
So how does she make it there? There's something happens, and then she makes the decision, and she's like, I'm going over. Right?
She makes her decision that she wants Matthew, but what makes her decide that?
I don't remember.
Doesn't she hear that he's leaving or something like that?
I don't know. She turns up at the bachelor, house, and Miss Daisy finds the key.
Yeah.
And she locks the door, and she throws the key into her corset, and she's like, "Come and get it, boy."
And he is like, damn, this is like a torture from hell.
That's his
he's really
undoing.
trying to, not pursue anything with her.
And in order to get the key that's in the corset, which corsets are very, very tight, so everything has to come off. And then when she's, left in her chemise, she's like, well, might as well take this off as well. So Daisy is like literally naked in front of poor Matthew, who at this point is still trying to hold on to honor for dear life and not take Daisy. It doesn't work out too well for him, does it?
No, it really doesn't. He gets thoroughly seduced by Daisy.
Thoroughly seduced.
To the point where marriage is the only option after that. Yeah, how did you feel about the seduction being, I guess, in the woman's perspective? Like, the woman is the one seducing a man.
Love it.
Love it, right?
Love it.
I feel like we don't see enough of it.
Yeah, I feel like it was a nice change to have her be the one to take control.
Yeah. I love it when men are brought to the limit of what they can endure, and then it's like they snap. And they have that moment where it's like, there's no coming back from this. We're going to do this. Yeah. I love it. I love it. And I also love that, she easily could have had Matthew continue to be like, I can't marry you, blah, blah, blah. Like, she could have dragged that drama, but she decided not to. And on the contrary, they wake up the next morning and Matthew is like, when we get married, we're going to do this again.
Yeah.
Matthew was like, it was... there was
it
no reason not to.
Morning though, it was a few hours later because they need to get ready for dinner. And Daisy's like, "Can we not just stay here?" And he's like, "We're not married, we can't."
Yeah, and then they're sitting at dinner, and she talks about how she's still sore and like can feel him between her legs, and like
he keeps giving her heated looks, and then like Evie, I forgot who it was. I think it was Evie, and then they're like, "We kind of know what you guys did."
Yeah, like tell me that historical romance is not hot. Come on. Like, this is why it's so fun. They just banged. They can't tell anyone. They have to act like nothing happened. Like, everything's proper. And then they're sitting at this dinner table with all these guests. And everyone's like, yeah, no, they totally fucked.
But anyway, so the whole point of this situation was... she decides to use Landrian or whatever, the guy from,
Oh, that's right. Oh my God, how did we forget that?
Yeah, to make Matthew jealous, but all it did was make him distant until she realizes that, you know what, screw it. I don't want to marry this random guy. I want Matthew. And then she goes and does her seducing. But no, I just love that Daisy, back to their sex scene, I love that she took control of her own narrative. She literally wanted to have sex with Matthew, and that's just what happened. And I love that she's the one who initiates the first the first touch, the first like kiss in this moment. Like, she's the one that like initiated it all. And I thought it was so different and like so fresh to see like Daisy, this woman who only really discovered sexuality through books and like that one time kissing Cam. Yeah, like she's just in charge, and like she is worldly enough to like be able to do this to like this grown man that's obviously had experience.
Yeah, and you just mentioned like her kissing Cam. Like, I think this is a nice progression from that. It makes sense to me. She had that moment with Cam, and that helped her to get to where she's at in this story, where now she's like more willing to actually be adventurous and do all the things, the scandalous things that she knows she's not supposed to do, and that makes her want to take control of the situation in that way. Also, I love how we didn't mention that Matthew was talking to that guy and like literally telling him about all the things that he loves about Daisy. Why don't you marry her then? The guy's like, why don't you marry her then?
Yeah, and then Evie's like, I think he's in love with you, Daisy. And Daisy's like, hell no, he's not.
And then Daisy, as she's trying to use this guy to make Matthew jealous, this guy has a change of heart, and by the end of the week, he's like, actually, I want to marry you.
And Daisy's like, hell no. Yeah. How did you feel about the little mentions we got of Cam? Like, I know... yeah. He's not, like, he's mentioned at the beginning of the book, and, like, Daisy's like, is he, like, an Irish lord or something? Like, maybe there's more to it. And then Sebastian and Evie kind of, like, have a look, and they're like, what is this, like, fascination with Cam? And no one knows that she made out with Cam.
Yeah, right? Like, they don't even know that she stumbled upon him. How would you know?
I know.
She never told the girls?
No. She just reappeared in the room, and she was like, yeah, no, you're right. There was nothing worth seeing. She didn't tell them about Cam. I'd be like, wait a minute, girl. How do you know about him?
I was kind of hoping Cam would make a small little appearance, but then he didn't, which is fine.
It wouldn't make sense. Not at this point in his life.
I mean, just to show up and, like, just to see him.
Yeah, but it
And
would make
Stir
sense.
to stir the pot or what?
Not to stir the pot, just for her to be like, damn, I kissed this man.
Stir some drama. Anyway, this brings us to the scandal, the actual scandal, the climax of this book.
Not that type of climax. Another one.
Past the climax, the identity reveal.
Yes.
Matthew is not Matthew Swift. What happened?
So basically, Daisy and Matthew go to like this May Day festival, and they come back to two officers, and this rich American guy, who quite quickly arrested Matthew, and then we find out that he is not Matthew Swift. He is an orphan who was bought to be a servant for a rich family, and he ended up getting arrested and sentenced with theft for 15 years because the son of that family had taken money from the family safe and pinned it on poor Matthew. And him being in no position of power whatsoever, he could not fight the charges and ultimately would end up in prison if not for the people that believed in him and like just people on the street that are like, I guess, like protesters. And they bust him out and he decides to move away to, I believe it was Boston, and take on the name or the moniker of
wasn't it?
New York, sorry, yes. He moves to New York, and the moniker of Matthew Swift is kind of born from there. Since the Swift is a very grand family and a big family, wouldn't really like go through family trees to find out who he's related to. So he believes his success is built on a big lie.
Yeah, but he built himself from the ground up and became a rich man. He used everything he learned because that guy that he was working for wasn't doing shit, and Matthew was writing all his papers and like studying for him, and so Matthew learned a lot, and he used that to become who he became.
Yeah.
And that, you know, he kind of always knew it would probably come back to bite him in the ass eventually. And of course, they get back to Stony Cross after a night of fun. Could have had sex. I was wondering, is it the same thing as Aline and McKenna?
I think so.
And they were gonna have sex in the same woods, so just saying. And so they get back, and the police is there. Oh, actually, is it the police or the Bow Street Runners?
Both
One
Street
of those
Runners.
two.
So like two, officers from there.
He's accused. He's put in handcuffs. Lillian goes mama bear. Suddenly she likes Matthew. Again, as always, Westcliff is the bestest friend to have in your life. You want a Westcliff in your life. Yeah. He's, never doubting Matthew. Right away, he's like, nope, there's no way I will, support you through this.
Yeah.
Lillian is the same. I love how the father, Mr. Bowman is...
surprised me so much. Mr. Bowman, Bowman, and also Mercedes.
Miss Bowman as well. Miss Bowman was even like, and she didn't like Matthew, but even her, she was on his side.
Yeah, and I think like that, obviously not I think, Matthew really says it. He's like, no one believed me before, and he never expected this family to believe him. They just thought, like, he just thought that they would automatically believe what he was charged with and just throw him out and like not even acknowledge him.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just love that all these people were on his side, and he never knew he had such a big family and people that actually loved him.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like, I'm not the man I used to be when this happened the first time around. Which, in a way, without money and without the reputation that he was able to build over the years, he wouldn't be in this place, which sucks, But yeah, and they take him. They're on their way to London. Again, like, there's storms outside. Lots of storms in this book. There's storms outside, and the carriage, something happens to the carriage, and long story short, Matthew, we think, allegedly drowns. in the carriage. And Daisy is obviously devastated. Lillian is crying. She's crying for Matthew, of all things. And yeah, someone wants to take it from here.
Yeah. So basically, what happens is Matthew is presumed dead, but Daisy is numb and she's not believing that he's dead. She's the type of person that needs to see the body, you know? Yeah, so basically, a few days pass, and everyone's still searching, but they obviously assume he's dead. Matthew shows up, and we find out he's actually not dead, that a great citizen decided to take him in, take care of him, help him heal, and then he's back. And Daisy is obviously, like, overwhelmed with, like, this relief and, like, the pain of, like, having thought lost him. And he decides to take Westcliffe's help, and they decide to fight the case. And yeah, that's just what happens.
Well, I mean, first of all, I hate how we don't know if that poor old man ever found his dog. I was really waiting for that. Second of all, how did you feel about all of that?
The reunion sex?
All of that. And third of all, how did you feel about the sex that, probably left her ass completely raw?
Oh my gosh, that carpet.
Right? It was hot, though, I have to say.
Yeah, their reunion sex was hella hot, and it really delivered. And again, is it the settee? The settee? Whatever.
Settee, yeah, I think.
Settee. That came into play again, and it was still in Aline's room again. So, like, this settee has, like, really got the action going for it, and yeah. I love it. I love that for it.
Right. How did you feel about that whole ending, S? Were you expecting that? Did it hit? Did it not hit? I'm curious.
I mean, I don't have anything bad to say. So, I guess it was a hit?
But, like, Matthew is drowning. He's gone. He's missing. He's probably dead.
I didn't think he was going to die. Well, he was going to come back. He was going to... So, I thought that was cute, the fact that was she drunk? She was drunk, wasn't she? Yeah. And she kind of, like, imagined, like, he's not here. Please.
Yeah. How come nobody sounded the alarm for that scene? And who's drunk? I'm just saying, okay?
No, I know. I don't know. I just feel like I don't understand this whole, like, hesitance with certain scenes in this Wallflower series, because I feel like they all add to the story, and if this was taken out, it would honestly be detrimental to the plot. Like, their sex scene, their reunion sex, and...
It couldn't. But the thing is, none of the scenes that they took out in prior books could be taken out, and yet they did.
I agree. All of them. We've already talked about it. The prologue in the first book, and, Westcliff and Lillian's first sex scene, and even nothing was taken out of Evie and Sebastian's book, but I mean...
That we know of.
True.
So wait, what are you saying? Like, you felt like this scene should have been controversial?
No.
It could have been.
It should have been.
Oh. It should have been.
In the sense that why did people... go on forums and be like, this is terrible, blah, 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 when it was Lillian and Westcliff, and yet nobody's saying anything here. I just think it's a little two-faced, in my opinion. Like, here, is it just because of how it's portrayed? Is it just because of who the characters are? I think it's unfair, and I think that you can't take out the first sex scene between two characters, which is so fundamental to their relationship.
Yeah.
Moving forward.
But I think I'm going to play devil's advocate here. But maybe the reason why this scene was not taken out, because one, it was not their first sex scene. And two, it was like reunion sex. So like it was automatically like, he came back from the dead. So, I mean, I guess, she was also into it despite her being like under the influence. So maybe, I don't know, like maybe because it was a second or third sex scene for them, it wasn't controversial.
I just think people sometimes make scenes into something that they're not.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that.
For Lillian and Westcliff, that's what it was for me. It's you superimposing your own thoughts and opinions and feelings onto a scene and giving it a tone that it really doesn't have. It really doesn't have.
I've read it so many times, and I still,
So-
I can see why people would think it's controversial, and I'm talking about Westcliff and Lillian's first sex scene, but the fact that you guys read that book and their first sex scene was not in it is just mind-boggling to me because of how important it was to the story, and it was Lillian's first time ever having sex, and for that not even to be in the book is just...
And for that to not be acknowledged, to not be reworked somehow, for it to just be taken out as if it never existed in the first place, that is frustrating to me.
Mm-hmm.
Infuriating, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, I would have really liked the publishers, or just whoever, to be transparent and just be like, yeah, this is why this was taken out, and it was taken out from this book and from this edition onwards, so please just be aware of that going forward. But we got nothing. We got nothing.
It's sad. Really, really sad.
Yeah.
Good news, though, just to not, finish this on that note.
We didn't even do the monster, so
no, but I'm not done with the story because Evie is pregnant, okay? I need to mention that. St. Vincent walks, I don't know where they're going. They're headed somewhere together, all the Wallflowers, and St. Vincent stumbles upon them. He gives her a little kiss on the forehead, and he touches her lower belly, and nobody notices except Daisy, and she's like, ooh, I think Evie has something to tell us. And I'm like,
I know, Sebastian did not waste any time.
I know. I love how I was literally so happy as if I didn't know. I was like, oh my God, they're pregnant. As if I don't know they have a bajillion kids.
I know, right? Just one of 10,000.
Right? So that's baby Gabriel, correct?
No? Isn't it Phoebe?
Is Phoebe the eldest?
Let it be a girl. I would love for their first child to be a girl.
Yeah, so then both Westcliff and St. Vincent would have a girl as their first child.
Sorry. Okay, so how many books did we read? We read Gabriel, Phoebe, and then... Okay, yeah. Never mind. It was 3, right? So I think it is Phoebe.
And then Isabel is also a girl. So they're all having girls as their first kids.
Well, yeah, because you need to keep baby making, for that heir.
So wait, I have a question. So we do get books of their kids.
Some of them, yeah.
But that's not considered the second generation? It's not considered their...
Not yet, yeah. She did combine the Ravenels and the Wallflowers together in her latest book. That's what it's no longer called the Ravenels. It's called the Ravenels meet the Wallflowers and the Wallflowers. Maybe she's bridging the gap.
Maybe. I'm hoping she's moving towards the other kids because like Steph said, we haven't seen Annabelle's kids yet. We haven't seen Daisy's kids yet. Anyway, and this book ends with just our 4 girls together, toasting to what they've achieved and their happiness, and each of them have made a match of love, and they're happy for each other, and that's the moment that gets me, because I'm like, oh no, it's over.
Yeah, because they started as 4 strangers, more or less. And then 2 years later, they're all married and having babies, and they never thought their life would have been like this. They even never thought they'd love their husbands. So it's just amazing that 4 women who come together and become a found family can achieve so much.
Let's move on to the monster of the story. Seth.
I just had one, and we for Daisy I had her prejudices, which we already talked about, but I kind of for Matthew I had the lack of support for the people who are less fortunate. So right off the bat, we know Matthew, not right off the bat, we just know he was in a vulnerable situation. He, later on we find out that he was an orphan, and he was kind of more or less forced to be a servant with probably no pay at all, since he was bought from an orphanage. And he was lucky he could have taken advantage of the situation, like you said, by educating himself with all the writing assignments and all the studying he had to do. But when it came time for him, and the theft, he had no one to stand by him. He had no one that believed in him, and he thought maybe his master or the guy's dad would have been you know what, maybe let's give you the benefit of the doubt, but that never happened. And because of this, he kind of kept the secret down for years and years and years, and he finally built himself up to have this position of power that he lacked when he was a child. And he was afraid to tell Daisy, he was afraid to tell Mr. Bowman and like the whole family, and even his new friends. Like, he was afraid to tell Westcliff, despite Westcliff being like, no matter what, I'll have your back, just tell me what it is. And he was just afraid that they would label him as, you know, a thief and not want to be anyway like associated with him. But that wasn't the case, which was really great. But just that fear of not having, you know, support of people, and like the like monetary support as well, was a big thing.
For Daisy, I actually think one of her monsters gets mentioned literally first chapter. And it starts with her father telling her she's a parasite.
Yes.
I think,
I forgot about that.
First of all, how dare he make her self-conscious about being who she is, freely being who she is. You know, Daisy is very much, she's someone who's just happy. You know, she's happy to be alive. She loves all these things, and she's, you know, a little different, and that's fine. And he calls her a parasite because she's still, you know, unmarried and not where everyone else is at, and, you know, quote unquote behind on like where she should be in life. And I just personally, that's something I can definitely relate to, like this feeling of feeling like you are a parasite to your family because you're not, you know, exactly where you wish you would have been at this point in your life, or or because you are like a different kid in the family, like, I don't know, you're the artistic one, the creative one, and, you know, everyone else doesn't quite understand the way you think or the things that you like or whatever. And I think that was part of it for her, because it made her start doubting herself and doubting the things that she loves, and feeling like, well, maybe I should be different, or maybe I am to blame for the fact that I've had no offers, or maybe I am to blame for the fact that I haven't been able to bring, you know, an advantageous marriage to this family, or match to this family, or whatever. So I think that was part of it. And obviously the reason why I love Matthew so much is that he's the man who sees all of her, and the thing that people make her, you know, self-conscious about is the thing that he loves the most about her.
And he says most innocently, because Daisy somehow like starts talking about like the life that she loves, which is like reading or like going for walks, and he's like, who pays for that then? How are you living this life of luxury? Who's taking care of you? And she takes it in a way, because she just talked to her father about, you know, him calling her a parasite. She takes it as him kind of basically saying that she is a parasite, and that's not at all what he meant. And then she even goes further to even go kind of ask Westcliff, am I a parasite? Like, does my life have meaning? And then Westcliff, being the best brother which you can have, was like, girl, no.
That's one of the things that pissed me off a lot with the dad. Just the fact that he was very hard on his own kids, but then here comes Matthew, and like that was like his protege, and like all that, and defended him, and you know what, fuck her dad.
But also his sons, like, don't they have anything to say about the fact that he wants to pass the business on to some nobody?
I know, imagine. And like, Mercedes, rightfully so, was angry that this random person who came into their life a few years ago was getting the company.
Anyways, that hit me, because I was like, wow, I sometimes feel like Daisy, you know. Anyways, that was the little monster I had for her. Anything else you guys have? Or
no, I just had something for Daisy, just her father being the monster, and like you just explained all that.
Yeah.
So
doesn't someone at some point tell her like, oh, you're just trying to get with Matthew what you can't get from your father?
Yeah.
Who says that? Is it Lillian?
I think it might have been Lillian.
Damn,
Isn't
Lillian.
that messed up?
Yeah. And she was also saying you're only going to agree to marry Matthew because you want to please father in some way or something like that.
Yeah. Which I think is true to a certain extent, but obviously she loves Matthew because he's Matthew. But you know, I think she does want deep down to please her father. It has nothing to do with Matthew, but I think it's just normal, you know, to want to please your parents, even though your parents your entire life have told you you're not enough or you're not how you should be or whatever.
Yeah.
She doesn't give up, and that's mentioned multiple times. Yet, like, no matter how many times you hurt Daisy, she will always come back to you and you know, trust or hope that you can do better. And that's both a strength, but it's also something that could hurt her a lot.
You gotta know when to cut your ties. I know, like, I just feel like, as human beings, we're kind of, like, ingrained to want the love of our parents, you know, and, like, want their support. And poor Daisy, like, and Lillian as well, they both never really got it from either of their parents. And it's just, like, it just left a void that Daisy more so felt it. I feel like that she wanted to earn something, you know, some approval from her parents.
Yeah, I think she internalized it, and Lillian, on the contrary, she was like, she kind of pushed everything out, you know? It was like, I'm just gonna, like, fuck all y'all, you know? Yeah. Which is not necessarily a better way to react to it, because, you know, she didn't really process any of it, and she was kind of just, I don't know, like, both reactions are normal and make sense for who they are, and obviously both the reactions have an impact on how they live their life. So I don't know, I like the difference.
I think all the Wallflowers were very different characters, and, like, even the males were very different, and I feel like that's hard to do when you have a series of, like, 5 books, you know, to have each story be different. I said different like a million times in one sentence.
Different, so different, very different, extremely different, so different. different. Should we move on to the part of the episode that Seth hates?
Let's just do it.
Let's rank some characters. It's time to rank the Wallflowers.
Marge with her little jingles.
I'm so sorry to our listeners.
My favorite one, though, was
Ice Blended Barbarians.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm so sorry for our listeners. I know I'm not a good singer. So
no, you're the best, and I love it, and I appreciate the creativity that goes into every single jingle.
Really touches my heart. I'll do it 10 times more. So, who wants to start?
You can start. I feel like you never start.
Okay. Ladies or gents?
You decide.
Oh my god. Thank you. It's like, you decide. You go first. My god. Let's do women. Okay, so last place is Olivia, then Annabelle, Aline, Daisy, Lillian, and Evie. I feel like that's no surprise.
So for me, I have in 6th spot Annabelle, 5th Olivia, 4th Daisy. Top 3 is Aline, Lillian, and then Evie in number 1 spot.
I had Annabelle as last, but, you know, after all these books, like, you see more of her and stuff, and, like, you know, she's one of the Wallflowers. I just feel like, for me, she has to be above Olivia in my list now.
Okay, so I have Olivia, Aline, Daisy, Annabelle, Lillian, and then Evie.
Wow.
I feel like I bumped Annabelle.
A lot. Yeah,
you did. Is it because of her actions and her, like, the arc in this book?
Men, I have Gideon, Simon, Matthew, McKenna, Westcliff, and Sebastian.
I literally have the same list, but switched the top 2. So I have Gideon, Simon, Matthew, and then top 3 is McKenna, Sebastian, and then Westcliff is number 1. But again, like I said, they're interchangeable.
I have Gideon, McKenna, Matt, Simon, Westcliff, and then Sebastian.
I was like, who the hell is Matt?
Yeah, I was like, Matt?
Matthew. Did I say Matt?
Yeah, you did.
I said Matthew. Sorry. Matthew.
All right. I mean, very different lists, but all very good lists. You know, they're all good characters. So truly, there's no losers here, and no one's wrong. except Seth by not putting Sebastian first.
Oh my gosh.
I'm kidding. Jeez. All right. So next, well, actually not next week. In 2 weeks, we'll be reading the last book in this Wallflowers read-along. It will be a Wallflower Christmas. S is gonna meet Rafe, who is a Bowman.
Ooh.
Another American.
Yeah, he's one of the brothers, and he's coming
Ooh.
for the holiday season.
Am I gonna like?
I actually don't even
Maybe.
remember Rafe, to be honest. I just remember his name.
It's a hot name. I just want to make sure that people know this. Lisa Kleypas knows how to pick a fucking name.
She
Okay?
does. All of her heroes have great names.
They do. And like, I don't know how she doesn't run out of names, but then somehow with every book she's like, no, I've got more coming your way. Don't you worry. Anyways.
Emphasis on the coming.
Indeed. So yeah, you got that to look forward to. Hopefully you'll read it with us. That will be the last book we read before a very, very short holiday break to put us in the Christmas spirit. So yeah, we'll see you then, and we'll probably see you before then actually with another episode next week. Which I don't know right now what it is. But yeah, hopefully we'll see you then.
Yeah.
If you want to let us know what your ranking is of these characters or what you thought of the Wallflowers during your reread or first time reading the series, please let us know. You can find us online. On Twitter, we are the RTM Pod. On Instagram, it is Romance and the Monsters Podcast. Also, Romance and the Monsters Podcast at gmail.com if you would rather send an email. We're on TikTok at Romancing the Monsters Pod, and on YouTube, Romancing the Monsters Podcast. Just search that and you should be able to find us. If you're looking for me, you can find me on both Twitter and Instagram at Foes and Lovers.
And you can find me on both Twitter and Instagram at But This Book.
And you can find me, Steph, on both Instagram and Twitter at Pros with Woes. And also, please feel free to leave us a rating or review on any of the podcast platforms. It would just mean the world to us. I don't know what the random pauses were in that whole thing.
Anywho, see you soon, guys.
Bye.